Recording in progress.
Welcome and happy Earth Day. Hope you've had a beautiful day so far, wherever you are in the world. Might be just beginning, it might be the end already. My name is Charlotte Dufour. I'm calling here from Burgundy in France. We're having a sunny day after rain. Happily welcoming the spring as spring flowers are blossoming one after the other. We'd love to know from where you're calling, and so see how many places on the earth are represented here through us. Please say, so I know already we have friends from Cameroon. I know my friends are in Italy. We have our guests in the Philippines and in Colombia. We have friends from Madagascar, Nicaragua, India, Brazil, Malaysia. Wow. Gosh, we're really spanning the whole globe. Pakistan, welcome. This is fantastic. Zimbabwe, London, France, China. You're from China, but coming from Australia, Bangladesh. Absolutely extraordinary. No, so this is a very special day, especially for all of us in the Conscious Food Systems Alliance. A big part of what we're trying to do through this work is reconnecting to nature, reconnecting to the earth, remembering that we are one with nature, remembering that nothing we're trying to do in food systems can take place unless we take care of nature. And we also know from experience that when we take care of nature, we make it easier for her to take care of us. And it's a nourishing experience from all levels. In case this is your first time listening in or joining a Conscious Food Systems Alliance event, I'll just say a few words about what we are. We're basically a large network that now spans the globe. We have about 500 members now, both individuals and institutions, and maybe 4,000 million more followers from all over the world. And we are all convinced that we cannot make food systems more sustainable, more regenerative, more equitable and fair and more healthy unless we also address the inner dimension of transformation. And we feel that consciousness practices that help us reconnect to our deep self, to work with more awareness, that help us connect more, how would you say, harmoniously and creatively with others, especially also linking producers all the way to consumers and everybody else in the chain. We're also reconnecting with nature. All of these are absolutely essential for the work in food systems. And yet it's often a neglected part, something we don't like to talk about too much. But we're being met with a lot of gratitude and interest and are delighted to be exploring these themes through various ways. We have different work streams like farmers' well-being or the role of traditional wisdom and cultures of regeneration for activating food systems transformation. We have a conscious food systems leadership course, so lots of exciting things. And we have been exploring how reconnecting to the earth in various ways can nourish us individually and collectively. And then we've been absolutely delighted to be learning already for a while from 3 of our key partners here in the Alliance, Sonita, Mbah, Margarita Zethelius, and Zethelius, and Sarah Queblatin. And I'll just say a few words about our guests before we launch into a nice conversation. The 3 have been very active in a project which was supported by CoFSA last year called Ubuntu to Kapwa, where they were looking how the local cultures can enrich our work in food systems in a beautiful South-South collaboration project. And out of that, they've drawn lessons from the elders they were working with to see how we can enrich our work in various ways, including with ritual. And that's what we're going to dive into today. So just a few words to introduce each of them. So Sarah has been all her life practicing how to restore and restory narratives of place and belonging with a trauma-informed approach to ecosystem regeneration and leadership. So she's currently a freelance consultant on regenerative strategy, facilitation, and learning. And her current project is leading the development and delivery of a bioregional governance training for the Asia-Pacific region. And I'm going to ask my colleague Camilla or Noemi to please spotlight Sarah as we now see who she is. Beautiful. Hi, Sarah. Thank you for being here. I'm now going to introduce Sonita, and please spotlight Sonita. Sonita is serving as communications coordinator at the Pocket Project. So she holds a master's in World Heritage Studies. She's a passionate food grower, permaculture designer, and facilitator. For over 10 years, she was the administrator of Better World Cameroon and the co-initiator of Bafut Eco Village, an off-grid learning center in northwest of Cameroon. And she's also now the executive secretary of the Global Eco Village Network for Africa. Welcome, Sonita. I'm so happy that you're with us. And finally, but not least for sure, Margarita. Margarita is an activist for life. She's working to create places, programs, and life change experiences that bring together care for Mother Earth and the well-being for humans. And so she's done many things, and among them, she's the founder and co-director of Falun Natural Reserve in the Andean region, and also the Ubuntu Center for Experimentation and Training in Regeneration in the Rosario Islands, and the founder and director of the organization Alianzas para la Abundancia in Colombia. And she's currently one of the representatives of the Casa Latina in the Global Eco Village Network, Jen. So welcome, very, very warm welcome to the three of you. I'm absolutely delighted that we're all together. And so we've been weaving together a little session today. We're going to start by hearing your story that brought you together, that story of reconnecting to your roots, connecting across continents, and how ritual came into play in all of that. And then you're going to also share a little bit the outcome of this fantastic work, including a very nice manual, which we hope will be of interest to many of you and will give good guidance to put some of this in practice. But also we hope we can identify ways to support this work, because it's just the beginning, right? You're then going to guide us into a ritual, and then we'll have a little exchange in small groups to deepen our experience. But before we engage in our little talk, I would love each of us to bring in the awareness of the earth, the little corner of the earth that is holding you. And let us be very aware in this special day for Earth Day of our main host, the one who is really holding space for all of us, and that is Mother Earth. Let us feel her invitation, and at the same time make her very welcome in our hearts and our minds, and let her guide us as we exchange what our relationship with her means and how we can bring it in our work on food. So with that, let's dive in. Welcome again. And I'm going to start by asking each of you, why did you feel the need to reconnect with your ancestral roots and explore rituals as part of your work on food and local development? What did you learn? How were you enriched by this experience? And how is ritual an opportunity to connect more deeply with the earth? Is there anything she's teaching you through ritual? And we're going to go from west to east. So Margarita, I'd love to hear from you on that.
Well, thank you so much, Charlotte, and thank you to all of us to give us the opportunity to be together today here, celebrating Mother Earth, celebrating, that we are alive in these difficult times of the world. I feel, no, it's so meaningful that, as you were mentioning, the countries and the places, I was just feeling this connection all around the world of different colors and different experiences and different dreams. And it's very, how you call that? In Spanish, you call conmovedor. It's touching that we give us a space to these crazy times. So I think that was part of my journey. A big part of my journey was I was always a child who has the opportunity and privilege to go close to the nature because of my grandparent, but living in a country with so much violence and so much conflict, we were always also aware of that. And in our family, we were talking about that. And in Colombia, in other parts, in the cities, you know there is violence, but you don't really relate it to yourself. And there was also this feeling of how we can do better now, how as humans we can do better. And that is kind of the seed. And then when I was studying biology, a group of friends were kidnapped. So it was, imagine, so stressed and so crazy that a group of friends that are just studying with you, they are kidnapped in some forest. And then all these reflections and collective reflections in the university, and then they were finally released after 3 days, telling us the story of what was happening there and the need of reconnecting, the need of healing, the need of understanding other realities. And in the path of biology, we are able to go to many places and get in contact with many communities. But then most of the time we are just exploring the ecosystem. But then what is these communities that are part of these ecosystems now? And in this path, I also went to a collective that was looking at supporting people who has been victims of violence. And then also in the Colombian constitution, we recognize that nature is also a victim. And in one of these journeys, we went to a place where there was a massacre and a lake was completely drought after the massacre. So we were just walking to share with our community of people who were working with this. Some mamos from Sierra Nevada, some wisdom keepers from different places of Colombia were with us, and they said, well, we should do rituals. We should work with that. And after a couple of months, the water came back. So it is just so practical as well. No, so it's an internal need, and then you see that there is knowledge out there, and that is a big part of how this was coming to my life and my longing to share it and to be able to have it in my daily life. That's a little part of it.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Margarita. Do you want to say maybe one thing that you particularly learned from doing that, from that reconnection?
That's one of the things that I feel is more important, and to be grateful. Always in this, when you start working with rituals and with ceremonies, there is a big part of being grateful. And today, that is the Mother Day, is just to be grateful for her, that we are part of her. And this is a big part, to have that connection.
Thank you.
Gratefulness.
Yes, gratefulness, gratitude. Thank you very much. And it's grateful in the sense of G-R-E-A-T. It's great. It's full of greatness when we can have gratitude. Sonita, how did you come to reconnect to ritual, and what have you been learning from that?
Yeah, thank you. Just to say that people can see me like moving and not know whether I'm dancing to some unheard music. Actually, it's a baby on my back and just putting her to sleep. Yeah, so I was growing up, and actually when I left the university, we started to experience, in Cameroon, the feeling that there's not enough jobs and that most young people are not interested in agriculture. And this is the moment where my connection, to nature started to grow, mainly because I noticed that we were losing our labor capacity for agriculture. And I started intuitively want to engage, and because my heritage, so my parents were farmers, my grandparents, great-grandparents were all farmers. And so therefore I thought, if we would not have the labor capacity in Cameroon for agriculture, because we don't have the heavy machinery, therefore we would lose a huge value of our culture to land. So I ventured into agriculture as a young person to learn, to understand why young people are not excited about agriculture and why we don't fancy agriculture. And of course, I discovered that it's because it did not make our parents rich, and we want to be rich and famous. Yeah, so that's where my desire for connecting to nature has evolved from. And as I engaged in community work and community building, I went through the rite of passage. So in the culture of Bafut, the rite of passage is a process where we come into adulthood and then we go through different rituals and ceremonies, in the pouring of libation for bringing us into our fullness, into adulthood as young people. So this was a very profound process for me because it was also like a form of education. So it was an education that created such a sacred and safe space for me to grow into myself. But also it was a kind of education that allowed me to experience spirituality, a different kind of spirituality. And therefore I have found doing the project, the From Ubuntu to Kapwa project, that the importance of that connection is to have an embodied process. So not just that I did learn a lot, but that I learned that through my body. And it's kind of a contrary understanding to conventional ways of teaching, but we're not just using the hands, we are engaging our whole body. So it's an invitation for us to bring our mind, our body, and our spirit into learning and learning spaces, and to integrate emotion and body into learning and understanding nature. And yeah, so having my baby in that process, I couldn't tell you what more beauty it is to connect to Mother Earth and to birth life at the same time.
Beautiful. Thank you for your testimony as a mother and bringing that liveliness of the birthing process. It feels like you were giving birth to yourself in readiness to then be able to welcome life flowing through you. Beautiful. And I'm very inspired how we see, Margarita coming to this from the space of how can we address and face violence. And you came from this disconnection, the loss of the agricultural transmission. And I see maybe through what you share that this is about reconnecting to a deeper purpose as well, another dimension that brings hope, that brings inspiration, gives direction, and something many youth need, actually all of us at all ages need. Sarah, what's your story? You've been working with many inspiring elders as well in the Philippines and yourself holding a lot of sacred space. Share more, please.
Thanks. Actually, nice to go back to the question. I'm just gonna turn off the fan so you can hear me well. Very, very meaningful to go back. In fact, actually, I wasn't a fan of ritual from the start because I grew up with my grandmother who was very spiritual, and every day she would pray the rosary like every 8 p.m. And you have this repetition of the prayer, like the rosary every day, and I really dreaded it and I hated it. And as a child, you want to watch cartoons, you want to watch, and then she would turn off all the lights so that everyone would go to pray, and everybody hated praying. And I would go to church with her every day. And so, because I didn't understand the value of repetition and being in sacred space, because kind of forced. So it took a long time for me to really appreciate these rituals, until I started exploring different faiths and traditions, and ended up working with interfaith peace building and dialogue movements. And in many of these faith traditions, ritual prayer, creating spaces for deep reverence, through song, through art, through movement with their bodies, with their mudras or their beads, are a means of creating something sacred. For me, it took me going into different faiths to value my Christianity, and then also to appreciate different faiths. And then ended up working with indigenous elders who were working for the peace process in my country. And these elders, they brought in ritual in the peace process, and eventually ended up also helping facilitate a ritual when the peace agreement was signed, and then when the peace talks were resumed with them. So I saw the power, like what Margarita was saying, like when reparations happened, something changed in the field, and I witnessed that also. And the same, like, and then I also ended up working with the Babay lands in the Philippines. They are the pre-colonial shamans, or spiritual leaders, that were wiped out during colonization, but they still nurture and keep their traditions and values, their teachings, and they create all these altars in the forest, in the water, to help create a relationship with nature and the divine and our ancestors. And rituals were used to establish that relationship, or rekindle that relationship, or reconnect. And I saw that when these are made, there's a shift in nature, like the rain. There's, you can see it, you can experience it in these places. But I think at the heart of it, one of the things that I learned from my teacher, I asked him, why do we have to always do this? At some point, when I was still like tired of all the repetition, because I left that path as a young person, and now I enter another faith, and they have another ritual of repetition. And I was like, okay, I guess everyone will keep doing this. And then my teacher was saying, actually, it's not meant for the gods, or these rituals are not actually entirely meant for your ancestors. Or, I mean, it is, yes, but ultimately it's actually for you, because when you have to repeat something, or you want to move or create or pack a food or offer a food with intention, it is an exercise for you to be more aligned with your higher self. So when you walk slowly, when you repeat a song, when you repeat a chant, you're actually more invited to be your higher self. So ultimately, that ritual is actually for you. When you think about it, who really benefits technically? So for me, that was really what struck me in this process, and yeah, that's how I continue doing this.
Beautiful. Oh, and I like this notion of it's something you express outwardly, but actually what counts is what happens inside. We have this alignment, we have the heart connection with the gratitude, we have the embodiment, which Sonita talked about. I now have a final question for all of you, because I think all three of you are facilitating or holding space, involved in education programs. And Sonita, you said how much these rituals were a fundamental part of your education process. And I think many of us maybe on the call are probably also in positions where we're transmitting somehow. We might be training younger professionals in our teams, or we might be professors. Or what do you see can be the space of ritual in education? And I mean here education in the broad sense. It can also be introducing agroecological methods with farmers, for example. So maybe a quick snippet of an answer from each of you. What might help? And maybe Sarah, you want to have a go. And how are you using ritual in your trainings, for example, on bioregional governance?
Yeah, well, one example actually was part of the bioregional governance modules included an experience that we did with our incubator with CoFSA. We brought wisdom keepers to a university, and And these wisdom keepers came from the mountains, no, they're elders. And then this university in the city had a glimpse of how it is, how the eldering are coming. They only experience apparently these rituals for the first time. And then the professor who helped organize it with us, she was like, you made real what we only read in books. And that really helped these students feel, our culture is alive. And that kind of helped foster a deeper understanding why we must rekindle our relationship to the land, and that we cannot just talk about food without our relationship to food and its the stories this food holds, how our ancestors have their imprint on the seeds that are passed on, and the memory that is held in the land. So yeah, I don't know if that's
No, that's great. We can do it in university. Cool. I hope professors on the call are noting that as an idea. Sonita, how does this come up in your trainings, for example, on permaculture or anything else you've been doing with youth in eco villages?
Well, in a couple of ways. I think one I could just cite from the top of my head is, the blessing of seeds. And so the invitation of the rain before the rains come, and the blessing of the seeds before we plant them. And then the prayer for, the fruiting, and then the thanksgiving for the harvest, the blessing for when the food is served, to share it, to nourish us. So it's full cycle there when it comes to food. But also I know that in, for example, water projects that we developed for communities, and we always say that it's not possible to talk about water without talking about the places from which the water is coming from. And before we can even start to tap from a spring source, we need to first of all call on the ancestors and the present gods and the water gods in these areas to ensure that the water continues to flow in abundance. And it's a deep belief in my traditions that without the water ritual, the water would disappear. And so therefore it's very important to presence the energies of the water, and to ensure that water continues to flow and nourish. So in many ways, we embody and into our daily lives. So as we do the rituals, we feed. And when we feed from the things that we harvest. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I'm going to ask Noemi. Noemi, can you please put the link to the Listening to the Land consciousness practice session we held last year, where we had two beautiful testimonials of one farmer and one farmer advisor who were really talking about exactly what Sonita just shared and how it was reflected in improved yields very concretely. So, this can be dismissed as magic or superstition, but if we had more money to do these kind of research, which few people like to fund because there's no profit from sending free love, but yes, it was fascinating to hear these stories. Margarita, how are you weaving this into the work you're doing? For example, with the eco villages or the work on abundance. I'm sure what Sonita just shared resonates with the abundance work you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. And I was thinking, I resonate. And I think that's why also we keep working together and bringing that. This is a very important part of the journey. It was when I started working with the Eco Village Network and with Kosha Juver, that was like the director by then. And I was going to support a project. And then the first thing that we do in this very executive thing that we need to do is was seat it, make an altar, and connect with what was the deeper purpose of what we were doing. And that was completely different what I have been doing in the university, in working with governmental organizations, and was so like, Of course, no. Why I need to be so much in my head trying to see what it needs to be done? It's just to put yourself on service. But then you need to kind of clear the channels. So what needs to be done is done. And a lot of this wisdom that the wisdom keepers are holding and when we are trying to bring so deeply to this conversation is to really for all of us in anything that we do, is if it's education or international development or whatever, is to have the time to clear that channel of what needs to be done and to Mother Earth, to ask Mother Earth, what needs to be done, what is now more meaningful and what is on service. So that is a learning. It continued to be a learning. What it's meant to be shared, what is your energy, yeah, right now. So that is one of the most powerful things that we have heard.
Yeah. We're going to soon go into a bit of a ritual space, but I want to emphasize here what I'm hearing from you is the invitation to be listening to the land, actually, as we said. And our culture has tended to see Mother Earth as a tool or as an asset base. But really, I mean, when you think about it, we are part of nature. One of my dear friends likes to say that each one of us is like a cell of the body of Mother Earth. And there's a wisdom in life that probably, has given us life. And so we can tune into that wisdom as we listen to the land. Wonderful. Sarah, you're going to tell us very briefly about the journey the three of you have been in this thirst to learn across continents, and with the spirit of South-South collaboration, also with the inspiration of inspiring us in the North. I mean, the traditional development practice has tended to be a little bit top-down, North-South, but really we're now in a much more universal paradigm where we can learn from all of each other. And I've been deeply inspired by your work. And it's helped me actually here reconnect differently to the local traditions and rituals that are present, for example, in Celtic stone circles or, pre-Christian sites that I see here on our land. And so I'm now tuning in differently thanks to your work. But maybe we can share a little bit more and how this resulted in this manual I was mentioning about. Over to you.
Well, it's a beautiful south to south learning journey, and it has been a great pleasure to work with these amazing women, especially with their elders as well. And we embarked on a journey that looked into. I'm gonna share screen, so giving a more color because it's hard to imagine the context. So I'm gonna present that quickly, just so you imagine the journey properly. So here you would see our journey is across Cameroon, Colombia, and Philippines. And the three countries are, we call it the three C's. All of us experience colonization, conflict, and climate change.
Sarah, are you able to show it in full screen? Yes, there we go.
Yeah, I was trying to, but it's kind of slow. So I'm just kind of giving up on the presentation. It wouldn't, let me try again.
Yes.
But basically,
Yeah.
So the three countries, all of us had historical colonization, and then we also had conflict, and so we all experienced that. And then we have climate change. So a lot of us are in the global south or really have these impacts. And we wondered what are our common experiences. And then the curiosity, which I realized you can read, is developing a deep design approach. So we are regenerative designers. We're part of the eco-village permaculture movement. So there is this regenerative design thinking tools and practices that we all practice. But we realized there's a different layer in our context that requires a level of depth. And that's why we call it a deep design, and requires a deeper understanding and scope. And in a year, I mean, it's not that we haven't done these things on our own, but I guess it made us look at it visibly together, making visible of what their learnings. And uh, we wanted to know how do we integrate indigenous wisdom in our design work, and then how what is a different way of design thinking, um, because there are design tools, regenerative design steps and pathways, but what is a unique way to come from a deeper place? And we saw that yes, it's empathy building, but a deeper level of listening, and it came from the ground up, from the roots, responding to what is being called, and then honoring, wisdom or knowledge that is already there in the place or the people or the history of the land, and then working with the seen and unseen, like dreaming. And so basically you're also opening it up for the the divine guidance or the collaboration of your ancestors or their nature spirits to work with you. And then the offering and learning, they go hand in hand. So learning is not just we're learning, because we're design educators and facilitators, but we're also offering in this active reflective, and you could see that in a lot of the value systems of the First Nations, indigenous, or pre-colonial cultures, even in the West, right? So there's reciprocity and circularity of learning and offering, and then of course celebrating, because um, in the end we design and implement. So we also need to, offerings are made out of this gratitude and celebration, and then lastly, it's not enough we don't embody it and live it, and we see that as often missing in a lot of design thinking is thinking and not being and embodied and living. And so this is how we saw our journey. um, what emerged also, we came up with, because we used it as an inductive approach, while we also had a deductive approach. We had a theory, or these are the possible practices, but then we also drew out what did really already work, what already worked well. And we saw that we did a lot of promotion of biocultural heritage by food growing, consumption, and then we also hosted rituals and ceremony in most of our work. We work with arts, music, and dance, and then we documented food ways different ways, and then we work with narratives, exchange and weaving. Um, we will place the link to the to the chat for the guide, because we were thinking it will be scrolling, we'd be losing the context. But basically, these are some of the activities that we've held, just to give you a glimpse. And the guide is really, I mean, it's not so academic. We would like it to be more relational and simple. It's very simple, but it came from these experiences that were done for many years. And but also, just when we came together, we realized there were some uniqueness and common uh, ways that we addressed this design approach, deep design.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sarah. Beautiful. I mean, yes. So I invite you. I think you're going to post the link in the guide. And what I really loved is that it opens a whole series of ideas, like how to bring in song, how to bring in altar building, or how to bring in dancing. There's a whole lot of celebration. And I'm also going to share in the chat a video that we prepared with interviews of farmers practicing agroecology. And several of their testimonials are speaking to what we're saying about, including one from Elizabeth Mpofu, who used to be the Secretary General of Via Campesina, sharing how elders, taught her to bring back rainmaking ceremonies, gratitude ceremonies like Sonita. And I'm thinking of this because Mel, I think, posted in the chat earlier how this practice heals. Regenerative farming is not just about regenerating the land, it's also about regenerating ourselves. And so let's have fun, basically. But that's what I felt from hearing your manual. Let's have fun. And with that, I think, is it Margarita's going to guide us into a moment of ritual now that we get a sense of creating sacred space amongst ourselves. We'll do that until just past the top of the hour. And then we'll go into small group discussions, because I'm sure you probably want to share your experiences and learn from each other, how this is resonating, what you might already be practicing. Margarita, over to you.
Thank you. I will just do a small introduction and they hand it over to Sarah. And yeah, the idea was also to share a little bit more in depth to the rituals that we have been more connected with in our lives. And for me, it's important, very important, the message from the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, from the Mamos, who have been able to survive as many communities around the world for thousands of years. And they do payment that is also to be very conscious of Mother Earth and give her back in our thoughts, you know, give her back seeds, give her back food, give her back water, giving back, you know, because also this one of the things that we have lose in this, how we can call it, like Western new culture, that is the disconnection and is with taking and taking and taking and not giving back. So this is a big part of pagamento that could be a very short or very long, and altars as a way of putting elements there. It's very important. So this is part of what the manual is inviting us, and how this is related to food consciousness and transformation. And yeah, it's a big part of us wanting to learn more and to bring more the knowledge of the elders. So maybe now we can show the videos, and then I hand it over to Sarah if, sorry for the change of plans. This is part of what we do, is go with the flow we have learned. And yeah, so if you can show the videos, super. Thank you, Camila.
Tinamujina, azime dare bunsi micha nao nandi atiki wazaki no kwani aviri joavi como no kwawani zeina zeni. Un saludo desde la Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, desde el calor del fuego sagrado de mi hogar, el arbono, que es el fuego sagrado que transforma nuestros alimentos en medicina. Aquí con la semilla del maíz nativo, unirme a la ceremonia por una alimentación más consciente, una alimentación que respete nuestro cuerpo y nuestros territorios, y sobre todo que alimente nuestra conciencia. Muchas gracias por tener en cuenta nuestra asociación Semilla de Vida y Paz en este espacio, en esta ceremonia. Desde acá me uno con la energía.
Thank you. So this is a big part of what we do, is to bring those voices of the traditional wisdom keepers, to have that bridge. So it's also important for us to show you, and also to see how in these new settings, like virtual settings, we can explore this. So hand it to you, dear Sarah.
So I am also sort of like a bridging, because we're now we have seen a little bit of how elders, wisdom keepers hold space with ritual or create a ritual intention. This is going to be a very tricky step because we're going to combine ritual making and being part of a ritual ourselves. I don't know if people are up for that, but we're going to try how to do this, because we're also trying to facilitate the ritual process that you experience it, but also that we are also learning how to create one. So I believe Margarita is going to invited you all to bring water, seeds, paper, coloring materials, What else, Margarita, did you ask? Bring people bring some of these. We just want to check, and no pressure if you didn't. It can also come from intent. So just noting that if people have brought it, that's really nice, and you're participating. If you need a bit of time to get some water, feel free to do that. This first step is still more of like creating space and knowing the steps, the logistics of it, and then we go deeper into the ritual process as we go along. Like Margarita said, we do trust how this goes because normally you don't really plan these things, and normally my experience as most of rituals are tuned in, you seek guidance for it, you dream about it, the elders guide you and it shows up. But we're gonna modify some ways to do that. It's a bit strange to do it on Zoom, but we will try. And we do it the simplest way. But first, let's try. If it helps, I'm going to help frame first with defining again what ritual means. And I don't know if you know the work of Malidona Patricia. I don't know how to pronounce her name, to be honest, but anyone can correct me. She's an elder who was really, really well known for her work on rituals. And she said ritual is called for because our soul communicates things to us that the body translates as our wants or absence. So when we enter into ritual, we enter into ritual to respond to the call of the soul. Another beautiful definition by Michael Mead from he's a kind of like a philosopher. They're powerful tools that bridge the gap between the conscious and unconscious mind, facilitating healing, self-discovery, and connecting to a sense of peace. They act as a means to engage with our inner world, access ancient wisdom, and navigate the challenges of personal and cultural control. So we will try to do this step by step. And if you have your paper and coloring materials or markers, you're very much welcome to work alongside what works with you, um, and see how it goes for you. There's no right or wrong. And often the first steps to ritual making is to create a ritual space or a sacred space. But as I say this, there's no right or wrong, there's no fixed step. So this is just to help us um, go through a process together. So if you were at a piece of paper yourself, I would invite you to imagine if you're also creating ritual space on your paper. So ritual spaces can be like this, like in the gathering of the Colombia network, they have this sacred space in the middle with food. In Cameroon, they also gather together with food together. And here, this is one of the Babay lands that I work with. They also work with Native Americans in a gathering and made this altar. So if you were to create a sacred space and you draw something, how would it look like? What would you put your ritual space with? Would you put leaves or flowers or seeds? It depends on how you want to create that space. So I'll give you a moment to imagine. If you don't have a sheet of paper with you, you can just imagine how you would create that circle. It doesn't have to be a circle. It can just be square as well, or even just a dot. Whatever feels like a space that is created with a little bit of closure or boundary that makes you feel like you are creating a new space, coming into something. You can also imagine yourself being surrounded by that circle yourself. And how does that look like around you? If you're inside it, or if you're outside it, what are you seeing from outside? What elements do you have? And as you imagine that, there's an inner circle inside that ritual space, something in the middle, and imagine what could be your personal and collective intention at the heart of that circle. So if you were to use this ritual for something that is for your personal or collective, intention. How would you demonstrate that? Imagine that, for example, you can put seeds in the middle, like Sonita was describing earlier, like you would do rituals with seeds, or you can place the water that you brought. And I also invite Margarita to share, what was this water for? Um, that maybe that could be used now in the process. Pass it on to you, Margarita, to share and speak. That water can be introduced in this segment.
Yeah, I was going for the water. And so we are connected in that. And as Sonita was mentioning, water is for many cultures and in our daily lives. And then we have seen that quantic physics and how water keeps information as well. No, it's live, but also keeps information and takes information to one place to the other. So in many communities, water is a way of healing. And we can say just water, but then when you charge the water with an intention, or you charge water with a concept, with a specific energy, with a specific vibration, that can create different effects. So this is an invitation to attune with the waters you have inside and the waters that are in Mother Earth as well, as a continuum, as a fractal, and feel where you want to put that element in your altar, in your mandala, with that intention. No, maybe just we talk a lot about intuition and embodiment. So it's also to allow the information that is in the water to support us in creating these spaces that are secret and are supporting us. Thank you.
Give you a moment to engage with the water elements, with the water that you're carrying with the session, what you place inside the water, and how you place this water in your own ritual at the moment. And then we would go into now engaging, like, now that you've created this sacred space, and now you have created something to activate that space with an element. Sometimes it's candle, it's fire. Sometimes it's smudge, sometimes it's water. Many rituals holders that we work with the inner, the seen, unseen worlds, the nature spirits, the divine ancestors. It depends on who you work with. Do you work with your angels? Do you work with your ancestors? Oftentimes, ritual is an invitation to collaborate and engage with something sacred and much wiser or spiritual than you are. So, and that they may offer guidance, and this is a meeting place for you. So you're invited to think about that. Do you want to invite your ancestor? You want to invite your angel or your creator? Do you work with your nature spirits, spirit of the tree that you have in your backyard? You're invited to do that, and you don't need to actually as well if you feel uncomfortable with that. It's just this is more of an information as a process as well to share a practice that we learned from our. So if you were to imagine, who would you work with? Who would you collaborate with? Who would you invite in this? And then we go into, if you were to imagine your mandala earlier, this is the how you would imagine it bringing in as an arrow. So you can write those what that arrow looks like, ancestors or nature spirits or names that you want to bring in, saints that you want to engage in your ritual. That's one way to visualize the process. And then afterwards, we would invite you back to this is also in rituals, also not just bringing in, but bringing out into the world, paying back to the earth, like the Mamos of Colombia. They make payments, spiritual payments, making ritual to pay for the harm or the things that we've done. Or it can also giving back as an offering or gratitude to nature. So there's also a beautiful image from the Rotary Islands where Abalidaria, the Margarita is they're doing something in the water after their ceremony. In the earlier graphic, it was with our Talaandig elders in the Philippines where they created a ritual space in the forest and they had this ritual with the nature spirits there. So you can think about what you want to give back and outward of the circle to expand it from the energy inside the circle. So you can think of something that you want to even ask forgiveness for or express gratitude for. You want to spread the light and abundance that you have. And if you were to imagine that in your circle, it is the outward direction, the four directions. So you can either draw or write or imagine outside of your circle. What are you giving out to the world, back to the world, something beyond yourself? So that's also one thing to bring in. And then we're going to look into grounding and integrating. So now that we have been tuning in something beyond us, something unseen, we'll need to go back to our bodies and ground ourselves back. And even celebrating. And I love this celebratory nature of our African friends in Cameroon. They have this music and they've had a lot of dances in their activities. And I just wanted to show how it looks like as well in their experience. And so this process also brings us back, makes the circle more complete. Now we're integrating ourselves back into our bodies, into the earth, bringing back what we experienced during this ritual as a journey beyond ourselves. So think about ways that you bring your body back to grounding or bring your space, your collective, as a community, how do you come back to the space? You can think about those things to close a ritual. And now that you have a little bit of handles to come into ritual, I'm going to pass on the practice to Sonita, who would really bring us deeper into this meditative, more deeper space. Because earlier you were just thinking of how and then imagining how you would do it. This now I pass it on to Sonita to really actually engage us deeper into the meditation and our deeper connection, as if the ritual is already going deeper within our experience beyond our minds of thinking what to put together and imagining what to put together in your ritual space. This time we invite you to really actually be in the ritual. Passing it to you.
Thank you, Sarah. So I will sing a song. Kiala, kiala, alema kiambane. Kiala, kiala, alema kiambane, mumangu mwe chankiambane, da yukia. Muka chun chankiambane, da yukia. Wale mokiala, mumangwa kiale moketonge. Ale mokiala, mume. Chui Fumbali. And with that song, I invite you to connect the pieces of the mandala in front of you. Connect to the energies of the west, the north, south, and the east. Energies of the water, the land, the plants, and to connect to yourself. And take a few moments to breathe. Yourself to connect and feel our field, our collective field here. We invite all those elements to be here with all of us. Yeah, it's not only our field here, but allowing our nervous system to stretch out far into the world, all the places that need our attention. And when you feel ready, you can slowly move your shoulders, touch your fingers, scorch your toes, and then slowly come back to us. Maybe we can go to gallery view so we can actually really see everyone here, at least those of us that are having our cameras on. Just take a moment to feel here our collective space. Yeah. And thanking ourselves for the amazing work we're doing across the world. Thank you.
Just an event that's almost over.
And I think it's now we will pass on to Charlotte again.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sonita, Margarita, and Sarah. And I know it's very challenging in 20 minutes online. And I think everybody's was welcoming this taster. I'm sure you're all hungry for more. And thank you, Sarah, for the step-by-step guidance on how we can go into ritual, and we'll make sure to find a way to share that with you. I also had once participated in an online course on bringing ritual back in our lives with Sarah Waldebeck, who was one of the speakers in our Nature Connection session a couple of years ago. And she and her partner Jonathan were saying even small things like looking out your window from your desk, seeing a bird, watching a tree, but with intention and meaning, can be a little ritual. So let's reintegrate ritual in our lives. Let's now go into little breakout groups of 2 or 3 people. If ever you happen to be in a room with somebody who's not speaking or who seems to have connection problems, just come back in plenary and we'll reassign you. So you'll be in pairs or groups of 3s. And for 10 minutes, I'm inviting you to discuss the following questions. You can choose to focus on one of them or as you want, posting them in the chat. But are you familiar with rituals? Are they already something that's part of your life, and why or why not? And what struck you in the stories you've just heard from Sonita, Marguerite, and Sarah? Are you inspired to introduce or deepen your practice of rituals in your daily life and work? And what form might that take? So I'm aware that's more than enough for 10 minutes in groups of 2s or 3s, but just, go with the flow, and please make sure to have the time that to have the time for all of you to speak. And thanks a lot for engaging. So we're going to be zapped into little breakout rooms and see you back in 10 minutes. While were you assigned to a room?
Just
I think if you go ahead.
I need to join a breakup room. Just could you please?
Yes, I think we're going to move you, Noemi or Camilla. Yeah, you're going to, if you see a little icon saying join group, please click on that.
Okay, just I will.
Yeah, beautiful. Can you see what's happening, Noemi?
Yes, I moved to group 6. I don't know if you can see that. You should be able to join.
Gail, are you able to join a group? You should see a join group sign somewhere. And Mariana, are you not seeing anything?
I was.
Just we're not getting the pop-up for joining the breakout room.
Should be able to see. I moved to another room. Sorry. Now you're in room 7.
And Mariana, what
If you
happened? You
see-
were alone?
No, I was with someone that was shut off, so with no
Yes.
video and no audio, I was calling him, but he didn't answer.
Okay. I'm going
Okay,
to.
I moved to room 5.
Mhm.
And Denise, are you there? Michael? You're back. Maybe we can just have a
Yeah.
conversation here. Did it not work?
Yeah.
We know it's sometimes tricky to make it work. Not everybody's connection is perfect, and so hope that was all good for you. We'd love to hear from you. Any highlights that you've, inspirations you received from your interaction, or that you're coming back, you're taking with you from our session so far? Do you think you're going to start bringing in a little bit more ritual in your life? But you can also share in the chat. Oh. And if Sarah, Sonita, or Margarita, you want to come in, of course, compliment, build on what's been happening.
Charlotte, Melinda
Yes?
here.
Yeah, Melinda, hello.
So, what I'm going to say is not originally my idea, but it certainly has been my experience in relation to ritual. And that is because I grew up and lived most of my life within a religious tradition that has ritual as a key component. I've discovered that what I learned in theory is that when one is introduced to ritual as ritual, it remains empty until it is connected with life experience, because all ritual originates in some kind of life experience of a community. And when that aspect is not there, and only the ritual is presented, it becomes boring, it becomes uninteresting, and one abandons it eventually. And so I think we have two things. One is to be creative in reflecting on our own life experience and being able to ritualize that with others. But then the other is when we're born into a culture and a religious practice that has ritual, how do we make that connection with our lived experience? And I think that's a big challenge for many of us today. And why religions frequently are empty, religious practice is frequently empty and meaningless because it's disassociated with life experience. I am totally in favor of ritual that springs from our experience. And perhaps those who study ritual know that these all have basic formats, basic forms, elements, that dynamics that come alive when we're become more and more conscious of how we live and why we live.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Melinda. Yeah, it's really about the intention and the power of connection and concentration we're able to put in the practice, not the outward motions. It's very important. Thank you. Any other sharings you'd like to bring forth? Or Luz, Elena, if you're with us in CoFSA Secretariat, you've been doing a whole lot of work with reviving attention to traditional wisdom. Any insights you think are important to bring forward?
Yes, I think that many of while revitalizing traditional knowledge, what helps a lot is when youth reconnect with their elders. So Sonita was sharing us how her barefoot initiation was important for her and inspired her. That is something we see happening a lot in many indigenous communities around the world, and how it is important to reconnect the youth to the territory, but also to the elders and to their shared history, and how this empowers them to be stewards of their lands and to continue protecting those. Yes, I think that's a very important point.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. We're getting close to the end, or rather to the next steps, because we really hope this is just an opening of a chapter or a deepening of a chapter. Sonita, I think you can maybe tell us a little bit more about that manual, and I think we haven't seen the link, but also how you envisage, taking this work to a greater audience. And I think you might be interested maybe in support of some kind, or we'd love to hear from you how you see this Ubuntu Kapwa work going forward. And then I'll turn to Margarita and Sarah for some closing words.
Yeah, so this work, as Sarah and Margarita already shared, that has stemmed from our desire to connect the South and the South. And we have felt in that journey that there is a deeper knowledge there in the South that could benefit the world. We hope that after this session, you do agree with us. If not, then check out or support us to bring this manual fully into the world. So this manual we have designed it as a tool that could be used by different people that have the desire to bring, for example, rituals into trainings and workshops, but also mainly for transforming food systems. So it gives a broader perspective on how indigenous knowledge and wisdom can nourish our food sources, and working with food from a consciousness perspective. So we've explored different layers and dynamics around our different cultures. So from Cameroon, Colombia, and the Philippines, and we bring those different knowledge into that manual. And it's also an invitation for people who use the different kinds of practices we have shared there to also say, you know, how did it shift in your own culture? So it's a living document per se. But this document isn't complete. Because most living documents are not. It is not just a business plan that is sitting there. No, it's a document that we really want to put into practice. So we're also looking for inspiration, support, motivation to continue building on that manual so that we can publish it. But I think something that I must share about this manual is that it really roots traditional wisdom keepers and their knowledge, and ensures that that is at the center and brings value to that. So it's not just about marketing indigenous wisdom and knowledge and indigenous practices. It's actually valuing that practice, valuing the places from where those practices come from. And then acknowledging the importance of that, and then when you actually use those practices, to go back and refer to them or give credit to them and give credit back to those communities. So we don't just want to water down rituals. We want to uplift the practice of rituals by sharing or using this manual.
Beautiful.
And please support us in any way. So financially, technically, yeah.
If you, for example, if you are running a project where you think this kind of project could add value, you know, please do reach out to Sonita, Sarah, or Margarita for potential partnership, or if you know fundraising opportunities that can be relevant to take this work forward. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you. And I just want to clarify, there's some couple of docs in the chat. One was shared by Luz and Miriam, and this is on the CoFSA's work on traditional wisdom. They're distinct from the manual, which was just shared by Sarah just now, which is a Google Doc. So a lot of resources. Margarita, any closing words? We just have 2 minutes, so 1 minute, and then Sarah can close us.
Yes. So very fast and wise as the elders. I want you to take the water, the ones who have the water there. So this is also part of the process. And drink. You can drink it all, or you can drink it during the day. And this water has the information, has the meaning, has the energy of this space that we are creating. So drink it. I feel it, and I give the word to Sarah.
Thank you so much, Charlotte, Sonita, Margarita, and the CoFSA team, Noemi and Liz, for helping us hold space. I guess our closing, actually, maybe it's not in the Zoom room. It's just more of a guidance. I would like to invite you to, after this call, is to go to nature where you are, because today it's Earth Day, and if you want or you can, is to either make an offering in nature or just be present, like Charlotte was saying, you need to just be present to the bird, acknowledge the earth, where you are in this world after this call. And that is, I would say, I hope a good way for us to close this session. And thank you so much, Salamat, for being part of our Earth Day gathering today.
Thank you. Thank you so much to the three of you for helping us travel in time and space and several dimensions. Happy Earth Day, everybody. And if you haven't yet joined the movement, please do so. I think Noemi or Camilla will post the list in the chats to become a member. And this is really, I think Melinda was talking about a ritual has to come from a community. And we are online, but we are a community, and everything we do is with intention. So thanks again for your time. Enjoy nature. Thank nature today. Welcome nature in your daily life in 1,000 ways. And see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye bye, everyone. Thank you.